Before clocks, before calendars, before written history, human beings measured time by the sky. They watched the sun rise and set. They tracked the moon's slow drift across the horizon. They learned the seasons by light, shadow, and repetition. On a windswept plain in southern Britain stands one of the most enduring expressions of that knowledge: Stonehenge. This is not a story about mystery alone. It is a story about precision, memory, and time itself. Welcome to the Universal Clock Audio Journeys. Today, our journey begins at Stonehenge. Stonehenge is located on Salisbury Plain, in what is now Wiltshire, England. The landscape is open, gently rolling, and exposed to the sky in all directions, an ideal place for observing the movement of the sun. Construction began around 3,000 years before the Common Era, more than 5,000 years ago, and continued in stages for over a millennium. The people who built Stonehenge left no written records. They lived long before metal tools, before the wheel was common, before cities. And yet, they moved stones weighing up to 25 tons from distances of over 150 miles. Today, what we see are massive upright stones, called sarsens, arranged in a circular pattern, capped by horizontal lintels, with smaller bluestones set within. But what remains is only a fragment of the original structure. Erosion, reuse, and time itself have stripped Stonehenge down to its bones. Even so, its purpose is still written in the way it meets the horizon. Stonehenge is aligned to the sun. Specifically, it marks the summer solstice sunrise and the winter solstice sunset. On the morning of the summer solstice, the sun rises directly along the monument's central axis, appearing just above the heel stone, before flooding the inner circle with light. On the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the sun sets in the opposite direction, framed by the tallest stones. This alignment is not accidental. The axis of Stonehenge was deliberately set to this solar path, locking the monument into the annual cycle of the sun. Physically, the alignment works because the builders understood the fixed points of the horizon, where the sun rises and sets at its extremes. Year after year, those points repeat. Stonehenge turns the landscape itself into a calendar. Some researchers believe the monument may also encode lunar cycles, including the 18.6-year lunar standstill, when the moon reaches its most extreme rising and setting points. Whether solar alone or solar and lunar combined, Stonehenge is clearly a device for tracking time on a scale larger than a human life. To ancient people, knowing the seasons was not symbolic, it was survival. The sun determined when to plant, when to harvest, when animals migrated, and when winter would arrive. The solstices marked turning points in the year, the return of light or the descent into darkness. Stonehenge likely served as a ceremonial gathering place, where communities came together to mark these transitions. Archaeological evidence shows feasting on a massive scale, particularly around the winter solstice. That detail matters. It suggests that winter was not only endured, it was anticipated. Stonehenge allowed people to know, with certainty, that the sun would return. In a world without clocks, certainty was power. Power to organize labor. Power to coordinate ritual. Power to unify a society around shared moments in time. Stonehenge was not just a monument. It was a stabilizing force in a seasonal world. Despite centuries of study, Stonehenge does not give up all its answers. We still debate exactly how the stones were transported, how many people were involved, and whether the monument served multiple functions over time. Some theories emphasize astronomy. Others focus on ancestor worship, healing rituals, or social cohesion. It is likely that Stonehenge was not one thing. Like many great structures, its meaning evolved. What remains clear is this: the alignments are real. The geometry is deliberate, and the timing is exact. Whatever else Stonehenge meant, it was built by people who understood the sky with remarkable clarity. Stonehenge is not alone. Across the world, ancient cultures built monuments aligned to the same celestial rhythms. In the American Southwest, Chaco Canyon tracked the sun and moon from cliff faces. In Egypt, temples captured solstice light deep within stone corridors. In Central America, Maya cities rose and fell according to solar calendars. Different cultures, different continents, the same sky. This pattern suggests something universal. Human beings, everywhere, looked upward and learned to measure time not with numbers, but with light. Stonehenge is one chapter in a global story. A story of observation, memory, and alignment. Today, Stonehenge stands silent. The people who built it are gone. Their language is lost. Their names forgotten. But the sun still rises along the same path. The solstices still return. The stones still mark the year. In that way, Stonehenge continues to function. Not as a ruin, but as a reminder. Time does not belong to us. We belong to time. This has been the Universal Clock Audio Journeys. If this story moved you, explore the short visual pieces connected to this site, and continue the journey to the next place where Earth meets the sky. If you're enjoying these audio journeys, you can support this series by liking, sharing, or subscribing. It helps this work reach others who value history, science, and the sky. When you're ready, continue with the next journey. From the stone circles of ancient Britain, we travel now to the high desert of the American Southwest. To Chaco Canyon. Before the first maps. Before borders. Before cities were drawn on paper. Human beings shaped the land to mirror the sky. They carved meaning into stone and shadow. They aligned buildings not just to the earth beneath them, but to the heavens above. In the high desert of the American Southwest lies one of the most remarkable expressions of this knowledge. Chaco Canyon. This is not a story of isolation. It is a story of connection between people, landscape, and time. Welcome to the Universal Clock Audio Journeys. Today, our journey moves to Chaco Canyon. Chaco Canyon is located in present-day northwestern New Mexico, within the San Juan Basin. It is a wide, arid landscape of sandstone cliffs, open sky, and dramatic seasonal light. Between approximately 800 and 1100 of the Common Era, this canyon became the ceremonial and cultural center of what archaeologists call the ancestral Pueblo world. The people who lived here did not build small. They constructed massive stone complexes, known as great houses, some rising 4 or 5 stories high, containing hundreds of rooms. Pueblo Bonito, the largest of these, required more timber than the surrounding environment could provide. Wood was hauled from distant mountain ranges, sometimes over 50 miles away. Chaco was not a village. It was a hub. What remains today are carefully fitted stone walls, geometric layouts, and a silence that still feels intentional. But Chaco Canyon was never meant to be quiet. Its design tells us it was built to be experienced at specific moments in time. Chaco Canyon is aligned to the sky. Across the canyon and within the great houses themselves, openings, walls, and sight lines mark the movement of the sun and moon. One of the most striking features is the sun dagger, a spiral petroglyph carved into stone, intersected by beams of light. At the summer solstice, a narrow shaft of sunlight bisects the spiral. At the winter solstice, 2 light blades frame it. At the equinoxes, the pattern shifts again. This is not symbolic light. It is precise. The builders understood how sunlight moves across rock faces throughout the year. Elsewhere in the canyon, windows and doorways align with solar events, allowing light to penetrate deep into structures at exact times. But Chaco's knowledge extended beyond the sun. The canyon also reflects an awareness of the moon, particularly the 18.6-year lunar cycle known as the major lunar standstill. This is a long cycle, longer than a generation. Tracking it requires memory, record-keeping, and patience. The architecture of Chaco suggests the builders possessed all 3. Stone, light, and horizon worked together as a calendar, one that unfolded over decades, not days. To understand why this mattered, we must understand the world Chaco's people lived in. This was a desert environment. Rain was unpredictable. Growing seasons were short. Resources were limited. Knowing when seasons shifted was essential. Solar and lunar cycles guided planting and harvesting. They regulated ceremony and social order. They connected communities spread across vast distances. Chaco Canyon was linked by a network of roads, straight, wide, and deliberate, stretching outward for hundreds of miles. These roads did not simply connect settlements. They connected people to Chaco itself. At certain times of year, people likely traveled these roads to gather for ceremonies aligned with celestial events. Chaco was not just a place to live. It was a place to synchronize time. Ritual, governance, and astronomy were not separate ideas. They were one system. Chaco helped hold that system together. Yet, for all its sophistication, Chaco Canyon eventually declined. By the early 12th century, large-scale construction stopped. People dispersed into smaller communities across the region. Why this happened remains debated. Some point to prolonged drought. Others to social change, political shifts, or resource strain. What we do know is that the knowledge embedded in Chaco did not disappear. It moved. Descendant Pueblo peoples carried these traditions forward through ceremony, oral history, and continued respect for the sky. Chaco Canyon still holds questions. Were the great houses primarily ceremonial or residential? How centralized was authority? How precisely were lunar cycles tracked over generations? Archaeologists continue to debate these issues. But the alignments themselves are not in question. The light falls where it was meant to fall. The shadows move as they always have. Chaco Canyon reveals something important. Complex astronomical knowledge does not require writing. It requires observation, patience, and continuity. It requires communities willing to build not for themselves alone, but for the future. Chaco is part of a much larger pattern. At Stonehenge, stone marks the solstice. At Chaco, light and shadow do the same. In Egypt, temples capture the sun deep within corridors. In Mesoamerica, pyramids stage equinox shadows in motion. Different forms. The same intention. To measure time. To anchor human life within cosmic rhythms. Chaco Canyon reminds us that knowledge can be architectural. That memory can be built into walls. That time can be read from stone. Today, the canyon is quiet. The roads stretch outward, empty. The great houses stand open. If you're finding value in these audio journeys, you can support the series by liking, sharing, or subscribing. It helps this work reach others who listen with curiosity and care. When you're ready, our journey continues. From the high desert of the American Southwest, we travel across oceans and centuries, to the rose-colored stone city of Petra, where sunlight itself shaped sacred space. Before cities were carved into maps. Before empires rose and fell. Before stone was shaped for permanence. Human beings shaped light itself. They learned where it entered the land, when it touched stone, and how it marked time. Hidden within the desert canyons of southern Jordan lies one of the most striking expressions of this knowledge. Petra. This is not only a story of architecture. It is a story of orientation, illumination, and intention. Welcome to the Universal Clock Audio Journeys. Today, our journey arrives at Petra. Petra is located in a narrow valley carved into rose-colored sandstone, along ancient trade routes that once connected Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean world. Its builders, the Nabateans, flourished here between roughly the 4th century before the Common Era and the 1st century of the Common Era. They were traders, engineers, and master stone carvers. But above all, they were observers. Petra was not built on the open plain. It was carved directly into the rock, temples, tombs, and ceremonial spaces shaped from canyon walls that rise hundreds of feet high. The most famous of these structures is the treasury, known as Al-Khazna. Approached through a narrow passage called the Sikh, the treasury appears suddenly, revealed by light, not distance. This experience is not accidental. It is part of the design. Petra is a city built around light. Throughout the site, monuments are positioned to interact with the sun at specific moments of the year. At the treasury, sunlight enters the canyon in carefully timed ways, illuminating the facade and interior spaces with precision. Other structures within Petra align with solar events, including solstices and equinoxes. One of the most significant alignments occurs at the monastery, or Ad Dare. On the winter solstice, the setting sun penetrates the interior of the structure, illuminating the sacred platform at the back, an event that happens only on specific days each year. This is not decoration. It is choreography. Stone, shadow, and sunlight work together to mark time. Physically, these alignments rely on the fixed geometry of the canyon walls and the predictable path of the sun along the horizon. The Nabateans understood where light would fall, months, even years, in advance. Petra transforms the movement of the sun into an architectural experience. Why did this matter? Because Petra was more than a city. It was a ceremonial center. The Nabateans lived in an arid landscape where water was scarce and seasons were critical. They engineered sophisticated water systems, channels, cisterns, and dams that captured rainfall and sustained life. Solar timing helped regulate these systems. It guided ritual calendars, seasonal gatherings, and religious observance. Light became a signal, a reminder of renewal, transition, and continuity. The treasury itself was likely not a treasury at all, but a ceremonial or funerary structure, its purpose tied to beliefs about death, rebirth, and the cycle of time. In Petra, the sun did not simply illuminate space. It activated meaning. Petra also reflects a blending of cultures. Greek, Egyptian, Roman, and Near Eastern influences appear in its carvings. But the astronomical knowledge embedded in the site is distinctly local. The Nabateans adapted universal celestial patterns to their specific landscape. This combination, global knowledge applied to local geography, is a recurring theme in human history. Petra raises important questions. How intentional were these alignments across the entire city? Were they symbolic, practical, or both? How much astronomical knowledge was centralized, and how much was shared across the population? Archaeologists continue to debate these issues. Some argue that only select monuments were astronomically aligned. Others see a broader pattern, a city planned with celestial awareness at its core. What is clear is that the alignments that exist are precise. The light arrives when expected. The shadows behave as designed. Petra reminds us that ancient knowledge was not primitive. It was refined through observation, repetition, and experience. Like Stonehenge and Chaco Canyon, Petra is part of a global pattern. Different materials, different cultures, the same impulse. To understand time by watching the sky. In Britain, stone circles meet the solstice. In the American Southwest, light cuts through spirals of stone. In Petra, sunlight flows through canyons and into carved chambers. Across continents, human beings learn to build with time in mind. Petra endures because it was built in harmony with its environment. The canyon protects it. The stone preserves it. The sun still finds its way inside. Today, Petra is quiet. Footsteps echo where ceremonies once unfolded. Light still enters the sick. The facades still glow at dawn and dusk. The Nabateans are gone. But their understanding remains, written not in words, but in light. Petra does not tell time with numbers. It tells time with presence. With arrival. With alignment. With return. This has been the Universal Clock Audio Journeys. If this story stayed with you, explore the short visual pieces connected to Petra, and continue the journey to the next place where Earth meets the sky. Thank you for listening to this first Universal Clock Trilogy. From Stonehenge to Chaco Canyon to Petra, we've traced how ancient civilizations across the world measured time using stone, light, and the sky. If these journeys have been meaningful to you, you can support this work by liking, sharing, or subscribing. It helps this series reach others who value history, science, and thoughtful listening. When you're ready, the journey continues. the next set explores 3 more sites, each revealing a different way humanity learned to read the heavens. And if you'd like to explore further, you can visit universalclockproject.com, where you'll find more stories, visuals, and ongoing research into these ancient places. Thank you for listening. This series was created using a synthesis of archaeological research, astronomical studies, and peer-reviewed scholarship. Interpretations presented here are grounded in established research, while acknowledging that many ancient sites continue to be actively studied and debated. Full credits and references for this trilogy are available in the episode description and at universalclockproject.com. We acknowledge the archaeologists, historians, indigenous scholars, and researchers whose work helps preserve and interpret these ancient places. Any errors are unintentional and remain the responsibility of the author. Credits and references: Universal Clock Trilogy I. Stonehenge, Chaco Canyon, Petra. This audio trilogy draws upon established archaeological, astronomical, and historical research. Sources include peer-reviewed publications, museum scholarship, and field research conducted by leading experts in archaeoastronomy and ancient history. Stonehenge, key sources: Parker Pearson, Mike. Stonehenge, Exploring the Greatest Stone Age Mystery. Simon & Schuster. Ruggles, Clive. Ancient Astronomy, an Encyclopedia of Cosmologies and Myth. ABCCLIO. English Heritage, Stonehenge Research Framework. University College London, Stonehenge Riverside Project. Darville, Timothy. Stonehenge, The Biography of a Landscape. Royal Astronomical Society, Solar and Lunar Alignments Research. Chaco Canyon, key sources. So far, Anna. The Primary Architecture of the Chacoan Culture. So far, Anna, Sinclair, Rolfe, Doggett, Lynn. A Unique Solar Marking Construct. Lexon, Stephen H. The Chaco Meridian. National Park Service, Chaco Culture National Historical Park Research Archives. University of Colorado Boulder, Chaco Landscape Project. Pueblo Descendant Oral Histories and Cultural Interpretations. Petra, key sources. Belmonte, Juan Antonio et al. Astronomical Alignments in Petra. Journal of Archaeological Science. Al-Khalili, Jim. Pathfinders, The Golden Age of Arabic Science. Brown University, Petra Archaeological Project. UNESCO World Heritage Center, Petra Documentation. Schmid, Stephen G. The Nabateans, Travelers Between Lifestyles. Oxford Handbook of Archaeoastronomy. We acknowledge indigenous Pueblo communities connected to the Chaco region. Local Jordanian scholars and conservationists working in Petra. British archaeologists and heritage stewards at Stonehenge. Their ongoing work preserves and interprets these sites for future generations. This series presents interpretations based on current scholarship. Archaeological understanding evolves, and multiple perspectives may exist for each site. The Universal Clock Project. Exploring how ancient civilizations measure time through sky, stone, and landscape. universalclockproject.com